I've spent a lot of time observing people, from my office in Omaha to the boardrooms of the world's most powerful companies, and I've noticed a pattern that most people are too busy to see. You probably wake up at 5:01 a.m. exactly 4 minutes before your alarm is set to scream. You don't even need the clock anymore. Your body has been conditioned by 447 days of the exact same routine. You lay there in those expensive, high thread count sheets you bought to reward yourself after that last promotion, staring at a ceiling that cost you $500,000, and you feel it. That cold, hollow knot in your stomach. You tell yourself it's just stress. You tell yourself it's the price of making it. On paper, you're a winner. You're earning a salary your parents never dreamed of. You're in the top percentile of earners in your city, and your LinkedIn profile is a monument to corporate success. But as the silence of the room settles in, a terrifying realization starts to surface. You are the most well-compensated slave on the plantation. You followed every rule the system gave you. You got the degree. You took the stable path, and you climbed the ladder until your hands were blistered. Yet somehow you're more fragile now than when you had nothing. You're one bad quarterly review, one restructuring, memo, or one market dip away from total collapse. Most people think I'm just a cute old man who likes Cherry Coke and McDonald's. They're wrong. I am a predator of inefficiency, and I have spent 80 years quietly explaining why your guaranteed paycheck is actually the most dangerous drug in the world. A hit of financial morphine that numbs the pain while the system bleeds you dry. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how the salary trap was built, why it was designed to keep you just comfortable enough to never rebel, and the specific, cold-blooded strategy I used to stay out of the game while everyone else is still running on the treadmill. This isn't just about money. It's about the invisible war for your freedom. You think you're working for a living, but by the time we're done, you'll realize you're actually paying for a life you're too busy to live. I often talk about something I call the ovarian lottery. It's the most important event that ever happened to you, yet you had absolutely no say in it. Imagine, before you were born, a giant ball filled with 8 billion tickets. You reach in and grab one. That ticket determines your IQ, your talent, your health, and most importantly, the economic system you'll be forced to navigate. Most of you won by being born into a modern, wealthy economy, but that prize came with a hidden contract you never signed. That contract said, "We will give you a path to comfort, provided you agree to never be truly free." Think about a man I'll call Mark. He's 38, a senior director at a prestigious firm, making $185 a year. To his friends and his neighbors, Mark is the ultimate winner. But from where I sit, Mark is playing a game where the rules were written by people who have no intention of letting him win. The system needs people like Mark, high intelligence, high effort individuals who are willing to trade their most finite and precious resource, time, for a currency that the government prints more of every single day. My core philosophy is simple. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. Mark pays with his youth, his focus, and his presence at his children's birthdays. In return, he gets a price called a salary. But here's the sinister part. That salary is taxed at the highest possible rate, the earned income rate. Meanwhile, I sit in Omaha and watch my wealth grow through capital gains and ownership, which are taxed at a fraction of Mark's rate. The system didn't build the corporate ladder to help you reach the top. It built it to keep you climbing so you'd never look down and realize there's no ground beneath you. Mark thinks he's building a life, but he's actually just funding the value for the people who own the ladder. He's running a race where the finish line moves back 10 feet every time he takes a step. I've seen many Sarahs throughout my career. Sarah is 31, a brilliant attorney making $120,000. She's hardworking, meticulous, and perpetually exhausted. Every 2 weeks, she sees a direct deposit of roughly $3,400 after the government takes its membership fee. On paper, Sarah is rich. In reality, she is nothing more than a pass-through entity for other corporations. I've watched how the system fragments her money into visible channels before she even gets a chance to think about investing it. Her luxury apartment in the city of place she only uses to sleep in between 70-hour work weeks devours $2,800 a month. Her European SUV, which sits in the dark office parking lot for 11 hours a day, takes another $800 between the lease, the insurance, and the premium fuel. Then come what I call the success taxes, the 18 salads because she's too busy to cook, the premium gym membership she's too tired to use, and the high-end wardrobe she needs just to look professional for clients. By the time the weekend hits, Sarah looks at her banking app and sees a few $100s left. But here is the psychological genius of the trap. Sarah doesn't feel poor. She feels successful. She has the leather seats, the granite countertops, and the brand name shoes. This is what I call the outer scorecard. The system gives you just enough luxury to distract you from the fact that you have zero equity in your own life. You are treading water in a gold-plated pool, and because the water is warm, you don't realize you're drowning. But as I've said for decades, you only find out who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. And for the salary earner, the tide is always just one restructuring memo away from receding. The most dangerous weapon I've seen in my 90-odd years isn't debt, and it isn't a market crash. It's lifestyle creep, or what I like to call the compounding assassin. You see, I still live in the same house in Omaha that I bought in 1958 for $1,500. I'm not being cheap. I'm protecting my freedom. I understand a math problem that the system desperately wants you to fail. Every time you get a 10% raise, the system is standing there at the door, waiting with a 12% increase in your desires. When you move from that $60,000 job to the $100,000 job, something happens in your brain. Suddenly, the apartment that was perfect last year feels like a cramped closet. The car that got you from point A to point B now feels like a social embarrassment when you pull into the office parking lot. You upgrade. You tell yourself you've earned it. You tell yourself it's a reward for your hard work. But what you've actually done is tighten the golden handcuffs. If you take an extra $1,000 a month from a raise and put it into a new car payment or a bigger mortgage, you haven't just lost the $1,000. You've lost what that money could have become. Over 30 or 40 years, that $1,000 a month, invested in productive American business, represents millions of dollars in lost freedom. The system wants you to focus on the monthly payment because it knows that as long as you have payments, you have to have a boss. You've built a financial life that requires a constant, high-pressure infusion of cash just to stay level. You aren't getting richer. You're just increasing the complexity of your obligations. You're like a plane that needs to fly at 500 miles per hour just to stay in the air. The moment the engines, your salary, stutter, you don't just slow down, you fall out of the sky. This is where the trap gets truly dark, and it's the part most people never want to admit to themselves. You see, the salary trap isn't just a matter of bank balances and spreadsheets. It's a war for your mind. I've always lived my life by what I call the inner scorecard. It's a very simple concept. If I do something that I know is right, even if the world thinks I'm a fool, I'm happy. But most people are raised to live by the outer scorecard. The outer scorecard is how the world sees you. It's the title on your business card, the zip code you live in, the brand of watch on your wrist, and the prestige of the company logo on your chest. The system is designed from the ground up to destroy your inner scorecard and replace it with a never-ending hunger for external validation. It wants you to care more about looking like a success than actually being free. Think about why you stay at that job that drains your soul. It's not just the money. It's the fear of what people will think if you downsize. You're afraid of the look in your neighbor's eye if you trade that luxury SUV for a used sedan. You're terrified of the accusations that surfaced in your social circle if you were to suddenly stop being a high achiever and start being an owner. You are performing for an audience that doesn't actually care about you, using money you haven't truly earned to buy things you don't even really want just to impress people you don't even like. I still drive an older car. I still live in that same house I bought in the 50s. I still eat my breakfast at McDonald's every morning. I don't do these things to be folksy or to create a brand. I do them because my inner scorecard is so strong that I don't need to signal my wealth to anyone. I don't need a $100,000 car to tell me I'm a good investor. But the system needs you to need that car. It needs you to be addicted to the success tax. The moment you stop caring about looking rich is the moment you actually have a chance to be rich. But the system will fight you every step of the way. It will whisper that you're falling behind. It will use your friends and family to pressure you back into the trap. It will tell you that you're being irresponsible by not maximizing your lifestyle. In reality, the most irresponsible thing you can do is trade your life's blood for a set of status symbols that won't matter 5 minutes after you're gone. This psychological dependency is the ultimate golden handcuff. It's a prison where the bars are made of your own ego. And as long as you're worried about what the world thinks of you, you'll never be able to afford the price of freedom. I want you to take a very close look at what I'm doing right now with Berkshire Hathaway. As we sit here in 2026, my company is sitting on a record-breaking cash pile, now exceeding $380 billion. Now, why would the man who spent his whole life preaching the power of investing let that much money sit idle in treasury bills? Why wouldn't I be out there buying everything in sight while the system tells everyone to keep buying, keep spending, and keep working? It's because I know the salary trap is currently being expanded to the entire economy. When the price of everything, stocks, houses, cars, even a cup of coffee, far exceeds its value, the smart players move to the sidelines. They wait. They keep their powder dry. But the average salary earner doesn't have the luxury of waiting. You are what I call long the system. You need the system to stay exactly as it is, inflated, high pressure, and precarious, or you lose everything. You are one bad economic headline away from a total disaster. If the market offed itself, tomorrow most professionals would be in a total crisis within 30 days because they have no margin for error. I'm waiting for the fat pitch. I know that real wealth isn't made by working harder at a job. It's made by having the liquidity to buy when everyone else is forced to sell. But in the salary cycle, you are the one who will be forced to sell. You are the liquidity for the elite. Your forced selling of your 401k or your home during a crash is how the 1% buys the next generation of assets for pennies on the dollar. You aren't a player in this game. You're the prize. I am sitting on this cash because I am waiting for the trap to spring on everyone else. The question is, will you be the one with the cash to buy freedom? Or will you be the one selling your future just to pay the bills for another month? I want you to perform a brutal mental exercise with me. It's an exercise I've done many times when looking at the stability of the companies I consider buying. Imagine your boss walks into your office tomorrow morning. He doesn't look you in the eye. He doesn't offer the usual pleasantries about the weekend. He simply hands you a manila folder and says, "The board has decided to move in a different direction. Your access to the company server ends at 5:00 p.m. today. No severance, no thank you for your service, just a clean cold break." Now, be honest with yourself. How many months could you actually survive? I don't mean surviving by cutting your own hair and eating ramen noodles in the dark. I mean, how many months could you maintain the life you've built? The house, the car, the tuition, the health insurance. If your answer is less than 6 months, you are not a professional. You are not a success. You are a hostage. I'm waiting for the fat pitch. I know that real wealth isn't made by working harder at a job. It's made by having the liquidity to buy when everyone else is forced to sell. But in the salary cycle, you are the one who will be forced to sell. You are the liquidity for the elite. Your forced selling of your 401k or your home during a crash is how the 1% buys the next generation of assets for pennies on the dollar. You aren't a player in this game. You're the prize. I am sitting on this cash because I am waiting for the trap to spring on everyone else. The question is, will you be the one with the cash to buy freedom? Or will you be the one selling your future just to pay the bills for another month? I want you to perform a brutal mental exercise with me. It's an exercise I've done many times when looking at the stability of the companies I consider buying. Imagine your boss walks into your office tomorrow morning. He doesn't look you in the eye. He doesn't offer the usual pleasantries about the weekend. He simply hands you a manila folder and says, "The board has decided to move in a different direction. Your access to the company server ends at 5:00 p.m. today. No severance, no thank you for your service, just a clean cold break." Now, be honest with yourself. How many months could you actually survive? I don't mean surviving by cutting your own hair and eating ramen noodles in the dark. I mean, how many months could you maintain the life you've built? The house, the car, the tuition, the health insurance. If your answer is less than 6 months, you are not a professional. You are not a success. You are a hostage. You see, over 60% of people making over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. This is a statistical anomaly that shouldn't exist in a rational world, yet it is the cornerstone of our modern economy. It is what I call a comfortable prison. The bars are not made of iron. They are made of streaming subscriptions, high-end leases, and the prestige of your neighborhood. The salary trap convinces you that this state of existence is the natural order of things, that you must work, earn, and spend in a never-ending cycle. But as I've said for years, the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. The habit of a monthly paycheck is the most addictive substance known to man. It numbs the ambition. It kills the entrepreneurial spirit that made this country great. It makes you predictable, and more importantly, it makes you controllable. The landlord, the bank, and the tax man love a salary earner because you are a guaranteed revenue stream. You are the most reliable asset on their balance sheet, while you have absolutely no assets on your own. You are essentially working for everyone else except the person staring back at you in the mirror. You are 1 month away from a financial off at all times, and the system wants to keep you exactly that way, just desperate enough to keep showing up, but just comfortable enough to never walk away. Now, dismantling this system isn't about being reckless. It's not about quitting your job tomorrow in a fit of rage. That is a fast way to a crisis that the system will use to crush you. Breaking the salary trap is a cold, calculated, and strategic withdrawal. It is about building your own moat so that no one can ever threaten your family's security again. First, you must stop confusing income with wealth. This is the fundamental error that keeps the trap shut. A $250,000 salary is just a high-pressure hose. If that hose isn't filling a tank the moment you turn the handle, you have nothing but a dry lawn. Wealth is the tank. Wealth is what stays when the hose is turned off. I want you to start measuring your life not by your annual income, but by your passive runway. How many days, months, or years can you live on the dividends and interest from your own investments? That is the only number that matters for a free person. Second, you must attack the gap. Most people focus on the top line. They think if they just make more money, they'll be free. But the system is designed to eat your raises. You must intentionally, and perhaps socially painfully, keep your expenses at the level they were 2 or 3 promotions ago. This feels backward to your friends. They'll ask why you haven't moved into the bigger house or why you're still driving the car with 100,000 miles on it. Let them ask. While they are building a display of wealth, you are building a war chest. You are buying back your future, one avoided luxury at a time. Third, you must build optionality. The moment you have 1 to 2 years of expenses sitting in cash, what I call dry powder, your brain physically changes. The amygdala, the part of your brain that handles fear, actually starts to shut off. You can sit across from your boss and negotiate from a position of absolute power because you don't need him. You can say no to the project that compromises your values. You can take the risk on the side business that could eventually replace your income. The goal isn't just to earn more. The goal is to become completely indifferent to the paycheck. Because the moment you don't need the salary is the exact moment you start being paid what you're actually worth. The salary trap is a sophisticated, multi-generational piece of psychological engineering. It uses your own desires, your need for status, and your fear of the unknown to keep you in a state of what Thoreau called quiet desperation. But once you see the invisible channels where your life's blood is being bled out to fund someone else's empire, you can't unsee them. You start asking different questions. You stop asking, how do I get a 5% raise? And you start asking, how do I own the machine that pays the 5%? The people who break free, the people who actually end up owning their lives, aren't necessarily smarter or harder working than you. They just decided that comfort was a poor substitute for freedom. They realized that a cage, even one with a senior vice president, title, and a corner office, is still a cage. You have that same choice today. You can keep hitting the snooze button on your 5:01 a.m. alarm and walking back into the trap, or you can wake up and realize the door to the cage has been unlocked this whole time. You just had to be willing to walk away from the guaranteed crumbs to go find the feast. If you found this breakdown of the salary trap valuable and you're ready to stop being a revenue stream for everyone else and start building your own empire, then join me. We don't do generic advice here. We break down the psychology of power, the mechanics of value, and the hidden systems that are designed to control your finances. Every piece of wisdom we share is another tool to help you dismantle the trap. Subscribe and let's start building your moat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one if you're ready to be free.